was Brothers, a 2024 American action comedy directed by Max Barbakow and starring Josh Brolin, Peter Dinklage, Glenn Close, Marissa Tomei, and Brendan Fraser, amongst others. The official IMDb plot synopsis for Brothers is: two criminal twin brothers, one who is trying to reform, embark on a dangerous heist road trip. Facing legal troubles, gunfights, and family drama, they must reconcile their differences before their mission leads to self-destruction. What did you guys think of Brothers?
You know, it's been a while since we've heard a Zach opinion on this podcast, so I'd love to start off with him.
I originally suggested to the guys that our list this week should be top 10 consequential films, and they vetoed it for some reason.
I didn't veto that. I didn't even see that.
Are you talking like movies that have been consequential to cinema or movies that have consequences in them?
No, like movies that will have an important important effect in cinema over the years. Like make their mark and really drive the culture.
I mean, this is the first time I've ever seen an orangutan joke of that style. So I was, like that did leave a mark.
It might be influential. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
We got to give it some time.
It's true. Comedies are tough because there's two ways to judge a comedy. One, if it's good, and two, if you laugh, right? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately for this movie, I didn't laugh. So it kind of fails that like test of a comedy. As a movie, it's fine. It's, it's pretty milquetoast, I would say. Like run of the mill. I don't know if it matters really. It's in this subgenre that I call like rural crime, where it's just like, like lower income people making bad decisions and having dysfunctional families. You know what I mean? And like it's like that's part of the joke is that they're messy. Mm-hmm. And so everyone in this movie's messy, and it's about these two brothers. There's Peter Dinklage, who plays it fairly straight, I would say, and his brother, who I did not understand what Josh Brolin was doing. He was like, yeah.
Why was he in this movie? That's what I'm asking.
His character choices were so odd. He was like a little, like mentally stunted, a little, like emotionally stunted, like just immature and like kiddie ways. It was odd. And then you had Brendan Fraser, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's super happy Brendan Fraser's in movies again, and this movie again, he's like odd. He's definitely like notched up the camp quite a bit. Camp is probably the wrong word here, but he's just playing it a little zany.
Yeah.
It was George of the Jungle, Brendan Fraser, not the whale Brendan Fraser.
Oh, it's definitely not the whale, right. Brendan Fraser. Yeah, so I don't know. So yeah, Josh Brolin and Brendan Fraser were in the same movie. Peter Dinklage was in a slightly different movie, and then everything with the mom just like bothered me.
You didn't like Glenn Close?
No, I did not like Glenn Close. Remember when he first sees Glenn Close and we see this close up of her and she's giving the strangest look. I don't know. It was just an odd look. I don't know. This movie was fine, but it did not make me laugh. Unfortunately, it tried. I mean, I guess it had some like crazy situations for them to be in, but they were a little random. I mean, you mentioned the orangutan. I mean, I guess it's crazy, and I guess we saw something we've never seen before in a movie, but it was just a random orangutan. Like there was not much reason for it to be there. It was like playing Mad Libs with a script.
Wouldn't it be funny if there's an orangutan in this house?
For no reason whatsoever.
No reason whatsoever.
Yeah. And wouldn't it be funny if we also did this other thing with the orangutan?
Exactly.
Yeah. So my question for you guys is, did it succeed at getting you to laugh?
So I will say I'd let out a couple snortles here and there, maybe, or guffaws. I'm not even sure. Light, but was I like laughing very often? No. There was definitely people said things in moments that I chuckled, but I can't tell you any of them they were immemorable. I was thinking about this movie today. I'm like, what was that movie about? Like it was very much in one eyeball, out the other. Like very inconsequential, as you say. For me, there's a lot of zaniness in this movie, like hijinks, and that can wear on me after a while. Like if it's just people shouting about weird situations they're in, it's like Will Ferrell at his worst. Like Will Ferrell will just shout, and that's supposed to be funny. And I can only take so much shouting Will Ferrell about whatever weird things happening. And this movie has a lot of people just shouting about things that are happening. I'm like, okay, that's not funny to me. I'm not getting a kick out of that. The casting in this movie was super odd for me.
Mhm.
I mean, you mentioned everyone in this, and I have nothing against these people specifically, but like Peter Dinklage and Josh Brolin they're supposed to be twin brothers. I think they're supposed to be like in their mid 40s, and Josh Brolin is pushing 60, right? And then you've got Glenn Close, who's their mom, who you kind of get the impression was maybe a young mother when she was having them. Glenn Close is pushing 80. Like she's got like makeup and her hair dyed and everything. But the whole time watching this movie, I'm like, none of these people, I don't believe that these people are related or that they're the age that they're supposed to be. You know, like we see young Peter Dinklage and Josh Brolin when they're 15 or something like that. Their mom leaves, and then they see her in the future, like, oh yeah, you left us 30 years ago. I'm like, I think she left you 40 to 50 years ago. I think we should go redo our math here. So I didn't understand the casting. I don't understand what Josh Brolin was doing in this movie. Exactly, Zach. His character was weird. I will say though, I liked Brendan Fraser's choices. He definitely was right going for everyone was playing a heightened character for the most part. Maybe Dinklage a little less so. Like Brendan Fraser was playing at 11. He was making faces. He was yelling a lot of high pitched voice from him, and it all worked for me. And maybe if like he was the one who was the weird one and everyone else was kind of playing it straight, it would have been fun because he is sort of this accessory to the whole movie. But everyone was kind of playing it at the same level as him for the most part, and that got to be too much. But when he was doing it, it was working for me.
Interesting. Cool. I did not like this movie at all. I didn't laugh. So comedies are tough at home. Streaming comedies are tough at home because I don't know about you guys, but I watched this alone. And it's not the same experience as seeing comedies in a movie theater full of people. Like no matter, I mean, there's probably some of my favorite comedies of all time that if you watch them for the first time out of a movie theater, you might get something out of it. A good movie is a good movie, but it's not the same as experiencing it the first time in a movie theater and then re-experiencing it at home with the memory of how funny it was in the theater. Like right. There is something to that. And when you watch a comedy for the first time at home, and also it's not very good, it's just kind of like a double whammy of just pain. I just wanted this movie to end. And it was not ending. And it's really not that long. It's only 88 minutes with credits. And I felt every minute of it. And I went in not knowing much about it other than Max Barbakow being the guy who directed Palm Springs, which is a comedic film I watched at home and loved. And so he did that once, and I knew very little about this movie, and that was intentional because I was hoping for not necessarily a clone of Palm Springs, but something that didn't annoy the crap out of me. And this did, for sure. I was actively annoyed by just how hard it was trying to be Raising Arizona and like other good weird comedies. The movie felt needy to me, like it really wanted to be those things and it just was not hitting. And every time they threw in a random orangutan, I was just like, you have not earned this yet. And it was a rough watch for me, for sure. And I don't typically shut movies off. I try not to do that. I think maybe on one hand I can count movies that I've never finished. And I really wanted to not finish this. I was ready to be done with it about halfway through. Josh Brolin is the spitting image of Peter Dinklage. And I never realized that until this movie. Like, that's the only thing I can, other than his prestige, because he's Josh Brolin from Sicario and a bunch of other things. I think that's why they cast him. He looks like Peter Dinklage, and Peter Dinklage looks like him. They're clearly different versions of each other, but the face is like kind of shocking how close they are. I don't think I've ever seen those guys on screen together. And so I was like, wow, they really do look like brothers. Twin brothers. I don't know about that, but brothers. Sure.
Well,
I
they're
think
different
they
kinds
look
of
like twin
twins.
brothers.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a twin brother and a brother, James?
Josh Brolin looked older. That's why they wouldn't have been twins. In my
Well, yeah,
opinion.
I'm pretty sure Josh Brolin is older.
That's what I mean. Like, it was hard for me to accept that they were twins just because of the age gap, but by looks, I see it for sure. And it was fun to see Brendan Fraser get to act crazy, I guess.
Yeah.
It just felt out of place. Felt like him and Emmett Walsh, his father, were like from a different movie for some reason. Actually, they were in the movie that was at the beginning of this, like the young segment where they're young kids and it's really wacky and fast paced. It felt like the Brendan Fraser, Emmett Walsh characters, they were from that movie. And then there was this other piece right in the middle that just never quite got there for me.
Can I say a real quick bit of
Absolutely.
trivia?
Yeah.
Josh Brolin is 56.
Mhm.
Peter Dinklage is 55.
So they're the same age.
I did not know that. I thought Brolin was older. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's his height, but Peter Dinklage looked younger to me. That's the only thing I can chalk it up to.
I was really bothered by Peter Dinklage, his facial hair.
Oh, I
That
liked it.
mustache.
Like, I found it very upsetting to look at.
Upsetting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why upsetting?
It's too much mustache for any person, not for him, any person.
Do you know what I wish they did? So they almost didn't comment on the fact that he was a little person, except for like one or two little jokes.
Sure.
And like, why not just not include those jokes? Like, they don't really have to talk about it. Like, the whole movie, they mostly didn't talk about it, and it was fine. And it seemed like they didn't need to include those jokes because they weren't otherwise making a lot of jokes about it.
Yeah, I think they only said it once, and then there was the one moment when he gets thrown into the tub that was like clearly a joke about him being little,
Right.
I would say.
But I kind of like the idea that that Peter Dinklage was hired for this movie because he was like the right guy for the role, and his height just never came into it. Like, that's kind of what it seemed like.
Yeah.
Right. It never matters that one is a normal sized person and one's a little person. It doesn't play into the plot. It doesn't seem like it's even part of the original story.
Right.
And that, yeah, I appreciate that. But I think there was one character in the flashback who made a comment about Peter Dinklage's character's height, and that was it. Yeah. Speaking of story, when this movie was playing credits at the beginning, I swear I thought it said that it was written by Ethan Coen.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in going like, oh man, this is like this could be a Coen brothers. You know, obviously not one they wanted to do, but you know, one that maybe they wanted to work out. And I was going to bring it up again on the podcast, but I fact checked myself. The story's by Ethan Coen, who only has one credit, and that's this. So
Sure.
But definitely thinking it said Ethan Coen maybe colored my impression of both what I was expecting from the movie and what I got as I was watching it.
Was the orangutan a guy in a suit or a CGI?
I think it was mocap. I think it was CGI.
Yeah, it wasn't a real orangutan, that's for sure.
Well, that's definitely true.
Yeah. No,
I couldn't tell if it was a guy in a suit or not.
I think the face was too expressive to be a guy in the suit.
Well, they could have like an animatronics face.
I don't think this movie spent a ton of money. It's not Harry and the Hendersons where they're going to like, okay, Jim Henson or Henson Company made the orangutan for Amazon's brothers.
Okay.
They could also have a guy in a suit and then facial replace for the, emotions of the orangutan. Possibly. I don't know.
All right. So would anyone describe this movie as raucous?
I would say it's a romp.
I think it wanted to be. Sure.
Yeah.
I was bored by it, so I know I would not call it raucous, but attempted raucous, sure. Why? Did you read a review saying it was raucous?
Yeah, Deadline.
They called it like a raucous comedy.
Raucous and hilarious action comedy.
I mean, there wasn't a lot of action.
Hilarious.
Like, there's people firing shotguns at things, but that wasn't really action. It was just shotguns going off.
Yeah.
There weren't jokes. There was, again, it's hijinks, not jokes. So I guess if you find the situation funny, then you can be like, oh, we're having a good time right now. But no one's making a joke. They're just reacting to things in maybe comedic ways.
Yeah, and I know it's kind of a not necessarily a trope, but definitely a thing Hollywood occasionally does, and there are definitely movies in this genre that I like, such as Raising Arizona. As Zach mentioned, like it's a movie about like, white trash people, basically, whatever. You know what I mean? Like less fortunate, lower class people who I guess are unintelligent or something like that. It's just weird. I don't know why. Maybe it's like I'm just older now. Never bothered me. Raising Arizona is very similar. You know what I mean? Like the people in that movie. When you consider that a bunch of Hollywood elites made a movie like Raising Arizona, I could see how some people would be like not too happy about that. The portrayal of people who don't have money. And for some reason, it doesn't bother me with Raising Arizona, probably because it's a movie I saw younger and I think it's good. Whereas with this one, it feels like there wasn't much redemption for people in this. And short of Peter Dinklage's character, they all seemed like pretty awful, stupid people.
Even Peter Dinklage was kind of an awful. I mean, he was tricking his brother into all this stuff. Spoiler alert for Brothers, FYI.
But he seemed at least intelligent, whereas the Josh Brolin character just seemed like a big doofus for most of the movie to me. But the movie lost me early, and it never got me back. So maybe my experience is just what it is.
Okay, I have a fact and then a crazy fact. Okay. The fact is that the orangutan scene in Brothers was meant as an homage to a Clint Eastwood movie called Every Which Way But Loose.
Okay. I know about that movie.
Clint Eastwood has a buddy orangutan that he hangs out with.
I mean, I guess anything could be meant as an homage. So,
well,
I believe him on that.
Apparently, there's several things in Josh Brolin's performance that were he lifted from what Clint Eastwood does in that movie. The crazy fact is, Every Which Way But Loose is Clint Eastwood's most successful movie.
Oh,
like financially?
Yeah.
Over Unforgiven?
Yeah. If you account for inflation, it made half a B.
Interesting. I wonder, that's at box office, though.
That is at box office.
I bet if you added residual or whatever, everything like but the box
sales.
Office, home video, all that kind of stuff together, I bet it's not.
Okay.
I mean, Unforgiven was a bestseller on VHS, DVD in the heyday when they were making just as much on the home market as they were. Whereas Every Which Way But Loose is a movie that came out, didn't do those numbers. You know what I mean? Not even close. I don't know. That's wild though, from a box office perspective, that people liked the orangutan movie with who?
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood.
Did either okay? So neither of your facts confirmed what was playing the orangutan.
It was CGI.
It was CGI. Okay, and I'm assuming the Clint Eastwood movie is with a real orangutan.
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
And a much smaller one.
And I mean, orangutans are probably the most intelligent thing next to humans.
No.
I believe orangutans are, again, next to humans,
dolphins,
the most intelligent creature on the planet.
No, that's definitely not true.
Are you thinking dolphin or whale is more intelligent?
Dolphins and whales would be more intelligent. Chimpanzees would be more intelligent. Bonobos.
The shoe company?
Yeah, the shoe company, exactly. James.
I thought they make socks. No, yeah, bonobos.
Huh, okay. I always thought orangutans were next to humans when it came to intelligence.
Why did you think orangutans?
I don't know, because they're a great ape. They're very close in relation
Chimpanzees
to us.
are the ones that do sign language and stuff.
This one did sign language.
Kind
Coco
of.
the gorilla knew how to press buttons for bananas.
Yeah.
Octopuses.
Did you find a list of the most intelligent creatures on the planet? Like ranked?
There's a ton of these lists. So what source do we like? How Stuff Works, sentientmedia.org, ThoughtCo,
Sentient
More
Media.
Science. What do you want?
I mean, I guess how stuff works. There's nothing like National Geographic or
The top 30 smartest animals in the world.
is it ranked?
Okay. Is ranked.
Okay. Give me like the top 5.
What does BuzzFeed have to say about this?
BuzzFeed wants to know what animal you are.
Number 5, elephants.
Okay.
Number 4, orangutans.
All right. Number 4, pretty impressive.
Number 3, dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, but they're in the water.
I was right.
Number two, chimpanzees.
Okay.
And number 1, humans.
All right. So
See, already
top,
this list, yeah, is
top
suspect.
4 is pretty impressive.
Oh yeah. You're just, I mean, number 1 next to humans. It's, I mean, obviously it would be chimpanzees because they're like closer DNA wise to humans.
Yeah. Okay. True. But I hear bonobo or gorilla or any other-
Bonobo's number 13.
Okay.
I don't know why it's so low. I think they're just as smart as chimps.
Oh, if you think so, then
I know a fair bit about bonobos. Also, rats, pigs, crows. Crows are crazy smart.
Are crows an animal? They're a bird, right?
Yeah.
is a bird an animal? Is how we're asking?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that what we're asking?
Okay.
That's what you're asking.
The 2 big
Yeah.
questions: is a banana
James,
tree a
you're
tree?
thinking of mammals.
Is a bird an animal?
Bird is not a mammal, but it is an animal.
right, James. If a bird wasn't an animal, what would it be? A plant or a fungus?
I don't know.
And contrary to a lot of people, when I talk about bugs, they have the same thought. So I just want to let the world know bugs are animals. Like insects are animals.
Birds
And
aren't
so are fish.
birds aren't real though, so it doesn't matter.
They used, yeah. Even in the birds aren't real, they thought they used to be real. They've just been replaced by surveillance drones.
Sure. How convenient.
So I guess
Did
in
you ever
James'
be
world,
convinced that
birds are
birds
not
aren't real?
animals; they're drones.
Can you tell me anything about this movie related to the score?
As in the music.
There was a needle drop.
Oh, but even the needle drop didn't make sense because like the flashback felt like it was 80s, and then the needle drop was like a 90s needle drop, wasn't it?
What was the needle drop? I don't even remember.
It was when like the mom was tearing off in the car.
Okay.
I just remember noting.
Oh,
that-
it was Been Caught Stealing by Jane's
yeah, it was,
Addiction.
Ben caught stealing, right? In this flashback, which was from the 80s. Well, I guess it was 30 years ago. That would at this point be 1995. But I
Yeah.
didn't get 95 vibes from that flashback. I was getting very much 80s vibes. Maybe because I was expecting, okay, well, these characters who I know were probably that age in the 80s because they're all in their 50s.
Sure.
The whole movie just had a whole weird aesthetic to it because I couldn't tell what time it took place in. The needle drop didn't make sense to me. The casting didn't make sense to me. But you're right. I guess if you say that flashback happened in 1994, then that needle drop made perfect sense.
I mean, Jane's Addiction is an 80s band, so
Yeah, but Ben Caught Stealin' is definitely, I mean, that was like 91, 92. That album came out.
1990.
It was 90.
So
okay.
not 80s, I agree, but pretty darn close to 80s.
Pretty darn close. Still, though, I don't associate Ben Caught Stealin' with the 80s. I associate it with the 90s.
Me neither. Jane's Addiction recently in the news. They broke up.
After Perry Farrell attacked Dave Navarro on stage.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah.
Did you saw that video? Zach, did you see that video? No?
No.
Do you know who Dave Navarro is?
No.
You ever seen Ink Master?
No.
Do you remember Carmen Electra?
Yes.
Do you remember the guy she was dating in the 90s?
No.
Okay. Do you remember Red Hot Chili Peppers' third best guitar player?
Dave Morrow?
Dave Navarro.
Dave Morrow. Yeah, Dave Morrow.
Navarro.
I knew a guy named David Navarro.
Well, there you go.
Did he wear black eyeliner and play in various bands from the 90s?
No,
Okay.
not that I recall.
I wonder what it would be like to live in a Dave Navarro-less existence like Zach does. That'd be amazing.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, he always seemed. I guess I forgot that he was in Jane's Addiction. He always just seemed like the inconsequential guitar player. Like, oh yeah, we got Dave Navarro because we lost our original 2 guitar players. Like, he was always the new guy in the band.
Right. And he guaranteed
that's my relationship with him.
He guaranteed women would pay attention to your band, basically.
Right, because he was kind of mysterious and, you know.
If Dave Navarro never existed, is there anything about your life that would have gone differently? Like, would your life today be tangibly different in any way?
Not tangibly,
Not
but I
tangibly
do
different.
like Jane's Addiction, at least early Jane's Addiction. So it would be sad to know that I'm losing, some good music.
But how much? Again, this is not knowing his creative output. How much creative influence did Dave Navarro have on Jane's Addiction versus Perry Farrell and then the woman he was his partner who got kind of written out of the whole story?
Not a whole lot. You're right. It may have been may have been pretty close to the same band without him. Now that you mention it,
like would mid 90s Chili Peppers been any different?
Probably not. Not much, if any.
So, yeah, I get Dave Navarro is the inconsequential artist of that era.
Someone who has this many tattoos, how do you decide like the next tattoo? Is it really just like a, Tuesday morning decision? Like it does not matter anymore. You don't overthink it. Or is like, does he add another tattoo willy-nilly? Or is everyone still like as important as your first tattoo?
I think first off to say, I think it's a misnomer that people get tattoos because they're important. Like some people do. Some people get tattoos because it's art and they think it looks cool.
Art's not important?
No, but they don't. There's not a greater meaning. If you look at the tattoo, you're like, oh, what does it mean? You're like, it means it's a design I thought was cool. I want on my body, right? So, I'm sure Dave Navarro on some of his tattoos, like, oh yeah, this means something. That's why I have this. That's why I have that. I'm sure other tattoos were like, I thought this flame looked cool, and I wanted this flame on my forearm. So I got
it doesn't have to mean anything. I'm just wondering about the decision-making process. Is it when you have this many tattoos, does it shorten to like 20 minutes? You're like, oh yeah, that'd be cool. Let's do it. Or do you still like think about it for like a month?
From what I understand from watching Ink Master and hearing people talk about tattoos for hours and hours on end, you think about the first couple, and then at some point, enough of your body's covered that you don't think about it a whole lot. You're just trying to fill the canvas.
Fill space. Yeah.
Not that you put anything there. You're just not. I mean, this is a show where literally people get tattooed without knowing what the tattoo is going to be. You know what I mean? Like they're on a reality show to get tattooed, even if the tattoo that's picked for them is not their favorite. So, most of the time, that's not a first time tattoo person.
So I have a tattoo story.
Okay.
You guys know I have several tattoos, and I've been wanting to get a more like a larger tattoo covering a good chunk of my arm.
Okay.
So I've been
A sleeve?
bounced around for several years. Yeah, maybe not a full sleeve, maybe a quarter or a half to a 3/4.
Okay.
And I've been kind of like zeroing in on these sort of cloud designs I thought are really cool. So again, it has no meaning. I just think it's something that looks neat.
Cloud from like Final Fantasy VII?
No, like actual like clouds, like in the sky.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So anyway, we were at Meg and I were at a bar like a month ago, and the bartender, she had a lot of tattoos all over her arms. I noticed like she kind of on part of her arm, she had these really cool clouds. I thought that sort of was a design I really liked. So like I asked her like, oh hey, like who did your work? Those clouds are really cool. Like, where'd you find them? And she was like, oh, these clouds, like, they're just a fill in. Like, I wanted this part done, and I had this empty space, and the guy just put these clouds in there. So, like, to me, I thought I was like, oh, this is a really cool design. I want to build on that. To her, it was like, oh, yeah, I needed to fill the space in. So, I think for everyone, it's a little bit different of, is it just because I need to fill space, or is it because it's something that I think is really cool, or a combination of that?
Sure.
We're talking about a movie.
No, I think we're talking about Dave Navarro's tattoos instead of brothers.
Anyway, rest in peace, Jane's Addiction, for maybe the 8th time since the band's been in existence. They keep breaking up and coming back together. I'm sure they'll work it out.
This Perry Farrell guy seems a little unstable, to say the least.
What's the
always
most famous
seemed unstable.
Jane's Addiction song?
Been caught stealing.
Probably Caught Stealing, followed by Jane Says.
Mm-hmm. Been caught stealing is like whenever anybody's stealing in a movie, that's a good candidate for the song they're going to play, because literally the lyrics are been caught stealing.
Once.
Right.
That was 5.
Right. Exactly. Which is probably why it's their most famous song. It's just because it's super easy to license and put into something.
Jane Says is kind of a downer. I mean, a lot of their songs are downers.
Yeah. Although probably the most popular, would you say Pets is more popular than any Jane's Addiction song?
But wasn't Pets Porno for Pyros?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think maybe Pets was more popular than any Jane's Addiction song.
I don't know if Pets was more popular than Been Caught Stealing or Jane Says.
Right. Kyle,
That's a good question.
What's your favorite Jane's Addiction song?
I was always a fan of Mountain Song.
That's a good one.
That's got a good
Yeah.
riff. I kind of like, was it 3 Days? It's like a 10-minute long song.
Yeah.
I dig 3 Days. Yeah.
Jesus Christ Pose.
That's Soundgarden.
Oh, you're right. I'm getting them confused. There's another one though that's like titled similarly.
Yeah, I never, like, I own, was it like La Ritual Habitual or something like that?
Yeah.
Their big album. I own it. I never quite got into it as I did like Soundgarden and Nirvana and those other bands. Like I had the album, but it wasn't on constant replay.
Sure. Zach, I'm pretty sure Ritual de la Habitual is on, should be on your list of like top 100 albums of all time.
No.
I don't think that it is. I can look that up real quick if you want.
Probably
but I don't think that it is.
But it should be.
It should be in the top 100 greatest albums of all time.
I don't know.
I don't know if it
time,
should be in the
but
top 100 of all time.
If I was making the list, it would be under consideration.
Of your favorites or the greatest albums of all time?
Of what I consider the greatest of all time, because I probably haven't heard 90% of what's on the real list of top 100 of all time.
Right. Okay.
I would imagine.
Well, everyone, thank you for listening to this Patreon episode.
This is basically what we do on Patreon. Anything else for Brothers or final words or whatever we're doing right now?
I did watch this with Megan.
Okay.
So I did get to watch it with someone. She didn't laugh much, and the movie I did, and she just went 2 stars.
All right.
Which I'm also very proud that she will just rank a movie at the very end of it. Doesn't have Letterboxd, but we'll just throw out a ranking right when it finishes.
You know what else bothered me about this movie? And it's really dumb. It doesn't make any sense. But for some reason, the Josh Brolin character was nicknamed Moke.
Yeah. I don't know why it's such a strange name.
Moke in like JD or something. Like,
yeah, they explained it, but it didn't make sense, nor was it funny. So why are we doing this and like constantly referencing it? Because it wasn't funny at all. And they seemed to keep bringing it up. And I was just like, what are we doing here? This is not funny or interesting at all.
Yeah. By the way, Jane's Addiction, Ritual de la Habitual is number 278.
Okay. I mean, considering all of recorded music, 278 is pretty good.
Oh, super good.
Yeah.
no orangutan, but you know.
It beat out Public Enemy.
Really?
Wait, which Public Enemy?
Which Public Enemy?
Fear of a Black Planet.
Ooh,
Right.
I think Fear of a Black Planet's a better album than Ritual de la Habitual.
I've never heard it from beginning to end. Fear of a Black Planet, but that's not their biggest album, right?
No, their biggest album is it takes a nation of millions or something.
Right.
It takes a nation of millions to hold us back.
Yeah, that's right. That's their biggest
Number
one.
85.
Yeah.
Whereas Jane's Addiction doesn't have another album on that list. I can almost guarantee you.
No, that's true.
Yeah, that's very true.
They had other albums, but they were not near as big as or influential.
Number 500. Black Grape.
By
Never
who?
heard of them. No, that's the band.
The band's called Black Grape.
Yeah.
Never heard of that.
Never heard of Black Grape.
And then Cast.
Nope.
They're 95 bands. Texas. Ever heard of them? 97.
Nope.
Kula Shaker.
These are
Okay, Kula Shaker. I
yeah,
remember Kula Shaker.
I've heard of that.
Number 497.
Coolest Shaker got big on a cover though. Like they covered Hush, which is not even their song.
I mean, that's how Johnny Cash got famous. He covered Nine Inch Nails.
No, I think that's how he capstoned his career. Like that's how he lionized his. What's the word? Like how he set his influence in like music history.
Hey, that's when I noticed him.
The first time you heard of Johnny Cash was when he did Hurt.
Not the first time I heard of him. The first time I cared.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then after hearing Hurt, I got into like Folsom Prison and a bunch of his other famous recordings.
Yep.
Typical like cool guy band teacher, you know what I mean?
All right, let's letterbox.
Yeah, I mean, I was
this
into Johnny
episode.
Cash before he was, covering 90s bands. So,
Sure.
the whole Danzig 13 stuff. I mean, we get you.
Yeah. He did Personal Jesus too, but that wasn't quite the hit.
Yeah,
That
well,
Hurt
he
was.
did like all those American recordings with Rick Rubin.
Right.
And that's where he was doing a lot of those covers and kind of playing old country songs.
Yep.
Yeah, and some of them were cool, and others were like, okay. He did like one by U2, which was fine.
Yep.
Bridge Over Troubled Water was fine. Like some of them were okay, others were really good. So
We meant to mention this in the beginning of the episode, but if you guys haven't picked up yet, this is becoming a music podcast. We're no longer going to talk about movies, just music. And this is the transition episode. So next week, just get ready for a bunch of music talk. No more movies. Movies are out. If we were to do an episode where we all listen to an album and then discuss it, like we do with movies, what album would we pick?
I mean, we just think obvious like the White Album, or are we going to go deep and do like whatever that Texas, whatever that band Black Grape?
Much like movies, it has to be a new album that none of us have ever listened to.
Oh, I don't listen to new music.
None?
It's scary and different.
You only listen to the music you already like?
Yeah, I know what I like.
Interesting. I listen to a lot of music I already like, but I also try to listen to new music because I work behind a computer and I get bored of the music I like.
Fair. Yeah.
So,
I should branch out. I just choose not to. It's comforting.
all right. Fair enough. All right. Let's summarize thoughts on Brothers and give a letterbox review or ranking, star rating, whatever.
I mean, if you want to see well-known actors making choices, you could watch it for that. I don't think you're going to enjoy it or find it very funny or consequential.
I didn't like this movie. I didn't think it was funny or all that interesting. I guess if you're a completionist for some of these actors, it's worth it for that. Maybe. But other than that, no.
I think if you are a fan of rural crime comedies, you'll like this.
No,
and I think there's.
you won't.
I don't
like
think you'd
it.
like this. I disagree.
You'd like
Yeah.
it. It's like the
No,
worst
if you're a
example
fan-
of that.
If you're a fan of that,
No.
and there's TV shows and movies that fall into that category.
Yes, that is a genre.
All right. Star ranking. I gave it 1.5.
2.
I mean, 2.5, only because of Brendan Fraser. I was enjoying that performance.
All right. A 1.5, a 2, and a 2.5 for Brothers.